don't have a mic. That helps.
Well, you have a bill.
I do have a bill. Thank the good Lord for my bill.
Yes. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Morristown. We are a dynamic and supportive spiritual community. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter how you got here. It doesn't even matter if you haven't yet made it to our sanctuary. You are welcome. If you've been here before, we welcome you back. If you're new here, welcome. You're in for a treat. We love being in service to everyone. We have a spiritual philosophy called the science of mind, which believes in the oneness of all life, and that we have direct access to the source of all that is. We also offer practical tools which help you experience your own divinity and cultivate your relationship with God. Our theme for 2021 is Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. And the theme for August is A Pause for Guidance. This morning's service topic and theme is Listening for God's Wisdom. My name is Gail Belluardo. I'm a licensed practitioner here at the center. I am blessed and honored to have two others joining me in presenting this service to you, who are practitioner students, Carlson and Gail Jones, who have just about finished their first year of training. So welcome. So let's first begin with some announcements. We have some exciting upcoming workshops and classes. On Sunday, September 12th, we are honored and blessed to have Reverend Patrick Harbula, who is a minister and who is from Florida, I believe, and he is actually coming. He is not going to be here in person, so this is going to be a virtual Sunday celebration as well as a virtual workshop that he has afterward. And his workshop is entitled The Joy Factor, a Life of Infinite Freedom. So that's on September 12th, it's a Sunday, and his workshop following Sunday service, which is at 10:30 a.m. as every Sunday. His workshop will begin at 12 o'clock until 2 p.m. And information about registration can be found at our website, www.cslmorristown.org. We are very excited that Reverend Dr. Frankie Timmers, our spiritual director, will be offering an accredited Science of Mind class. And the title of the class is From Whence We Came. It is a 10-week class. There is a free introductory session on September 21st from 7 to 8 p.m. You're all welcome to join that. This will be a virtual free class as an introduction. And then the actual class takes place on both Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays will be from 7 to 9 p.m. in the evening, and they begin on September 28th through November 30th. On Thursdays, the class will be from 10 a.m. to noon, beginning on September 30th and ending on December 12th. And another blessing from Reverend Frankie is a workshop that she will be offering, relationship as a spiritual practice. Now, who doesn't need to learn about relationships? And this is about all kinds of relationships. There will be a class on Zoom, which is Thursday, October 14th, between 7 and 9 p.m. There is also one in person, live in person here at the center, after Sunday service on October 17th, between 12 o'clock and 2 p.m. And in addition, we have two monthly offerings. Kundalini Yoga occurs every fourth Tuesday evening. The next one is on August 24th from 6:30 to 7:45. We also have a men's group that meets on Saturday morning. The next one is, it's entitled Men Who Care. The next one takes place September 4th at 8:30 a.m., and that's down in Sacred Space downstairs. If you would like any more information about what I've talked about or anything about our center, feel free to contact us at the email address, which is office@cslmorristown.org, or go to our website, www.cslmorristown.org. And we are in service, and we love to be in service, but we also love to have support back. And so, if your heart moves you to offer us a donation, you can do that by going to our website, www.cslmorristown.org. And so now I invite you to do what we always do at the beginning of the service, which is a spiritual mind treatment, which is our word for a family of prayer. So please close your eyes if you feel moved to, and join me in this invocation and recognition of the one presence. So right here, right now, I take a breath. Oh, how good it feels to know that this breath that I take is the breath of God. It is the breath of life itself. And I recognize this presence right here, right now, virtually in this sanctuary and everywhere else. This one mind that is ever available, ever loving, ever giving, providing guidance and insight and wisdom and the activity of life itself. And so I know that as we come together knowing that we are unified in this one mind. And I speak this word for this service and for everyone here within the sound of my voice, knowing that this is a service that is God ordained. I know that there is this presence that flows through us, that nurtures and guides and guards and protects us. There is a resilience that is occurring within the heart flame of each and every soul here this morning, this evening, or whenever you are tuning in, because we're always tuning into God. And so I make this a conscious declaration that we are tuning into God this morning. We are listening. We are listening from that deep well of stillness within us to hear the words of God, the insight of God, the wisdom of God, the nurturance of God, and to reveal the perfection that each one of us is. So I bless our time together. I call it good, I call it holy, I call it sacred. And I surrender this word into the universal law of life, knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that since it has been spoken, it truly, truly is already now done. And so it is.
And so it is.
Amen. And so now, it is my pleasure to invite Lori Carlson to join us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So this morning I'm going to share with you a short poem I wrote and then a practice that I do. The poem is called Stop. Today I stop and listen for what I don't yet hear. I allow each moment to glisten in its fullness without fear, serenely knowing all is well as I'm divinely guided and led. The presence within will gently tell me all that I need know once I get out of my head. And in the stillness, listen to my heart, for it is there that love resides. There that I find that I am only a part of the larger love that is God deep inside. And so I gratefully pause, breathe, hear and greet the one great cause that keeps my feet firmly planted on this path of awareness of the one, my home, my base, my true self, when all is said and done. So now I'd like to share with you a practice. It's sort of like a little technology hack that I do. We're talking about listening for your inner guidance this month. And so with the word STOP, which is an acronym for silence or stillness, for time or thought, for opportunity or openness, or presence or practice. So I have a way that I help bring stops into my daily life. I simply set alarms on my phone. So easy, right? The weapon of mass distraction can become a tool for spirituality. So my alarms, my first one in the morning says intention, and that reminds me of my affirmation for the day. And then later on after lunch, my word comes up and it's authenticity, because how well am I actually living my affirmation that day? And then late in the afternoon comes up kindness, because by the day is going on and maybe I've forgotten that kindness is my purest intention, always, to be kind. And then at night, gratitude comes up, because I end my day every day with writing in a gratitude journal, and I want to remember to be grateful for my day. So now I invite all of you to close your eyes for a moment and think about what word or words would work for you. What words bring you back from the outer world of effects into the inner world and the knowing of your oneness with God, where you can best hear that divine guidance? Maybe it's truth, or courage, or laughter, or joy, whatever it is for you. Now I invite you to imagine your day tomorrow, a normal day, going through whatever your schedule or normal behaviors are, and your phone alarm goes off, and you look down and you see these words. How does that make you feel? Are you smiling? Are you centered? Are you able to pause and listen for that small, still voice within? Now I invite you to make this practice your own. If it works for you, as it does for me, I hope that you enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Lori. That is very inspiring. Thank you. So you will notice today there is no music during the service, and so we are moving from one to the other. So I invite you to pause and take a breath. And just allow the breath to bring you back to center. And as you come back to center, I invite you to think about the fact that the science of mind principle, one of the main principles that we have, is that the kingdom of God is within us. And we experience that kingdom to the degree that we are conscious of it. And so Lori's practice is a way of reconnecting, realigning with that, and becoming attuned to that. Because I don't know about you, but it's been quite hectic in the world. If you've noticed the world lately, it's so easy for us to become distracted, preoccupied by many things, right? By many things in the world, by the events in the world. Hurricanes, Drove through one this morning. Hurricanes, earthquakes, pandemics. And then we have the personal things that we're dealing with, right? In our families, our relationships, our work. So there are all of these things that elicit our attention, that grab our attention away from our center. And they're necessary to pay attention to, right? We need to pay attention to the outside world, but we also need to come back to that space and that place within that is centered and grounded. And centered and grounded within ourselves, but also with God. And as we know, the acronym ego, edging God out, is such a simple thing that we do automatically, so quickly. And so we need reminders, we need reflections, we need time and space and place to become still, to have that awareness that we can be the calm within the storm. And our challenge always is to heal what appears like or actually is separation. Separation from God, separation from other people, and even separation from within ourselves. It's a challenge to be in integrity these days, if you've noticed. We're all tested with, doesn't matter whether it's politics, whether it's virus, whether it's whatever, it doesn't matter. We are all challenged from our center. And so it needs to be a discipline. We need to create a discipline. And we don't even have to call it discipline. We just need to be able to become mindful and use our awareness with intention and with clarity, knowing what it is we want to experience instead of being at the mercy of what the outer experience is. So one of the things I've reflected upon lately is the fact that there is actually a comparison within human psychology and spiritual psychology. And it has to do around separation and relationships. There's a theory called attachment theory in psychology that you may have heard of, and it has to do with how do we relate to other people? How are we connected or disconnected from other people? And what is the style of that? So when we're being human, each one of us comes through our mother's womb, and we are attached by the umbilical cord. The first thing that happens, or one of the first things that happens when you get here on Earth, is that umbilical cord is severed. And so right there is the sense of separation. It happens to all of us. And so what occurs then is a whole process of developing relationship from infancy on. And relating to, being connected to, finding a way of movement back and forth between the mother or the mothering person or whoever early caregivers are. And in this process, we each develop a style. And in attachment theory, there are a few different styles. The best, of course, would be a secure attachment, right? Wouldn't we love to be securely attached to other people in our lives? And that is the goal of a lot of therapy sometimes. So that's the form that we would say is the most desirable, but it doesn't necessarily happen for all of us, and it doesn't necessarily happen consistently, because we're all in the throes of life, we're all in the throes of experience. And so other styles of attachment that can develop, one of them would be avoidant. And having an avoidant style of attachment would be kind of being a little dismissive, perhaps, of the other people in our environment. Not as a mean thing, but as a way of self-protection, as a way of finding a balance and a rhythm. This is all about rhythm, relationship, and the rhythm of how we relate to the important people in our lives. The next kind would be avoidant. Well, I did speak of that, right? So I'm avoiding the next one. The next style could be called ambivalent. And an ambivalent attachment, what happens is that there's a preoccupation and anxiety that goes on. And so someone might be caught up in their head, worrying, thinking, planning, whatever, and relating as well, but still there's this kind of ambivalence back and forth that goes on in the relationship. And then the last would be considered disorganized. And someone who has a disorganized attachment style would really be struggling with inner conflict, conflict with other people, trying to get settled, trying to get some sort of rhythm that feels right, but not really being able to find that necessarily. So that's the human experience, okay? And we all can think, oh, now everybody's thinking, right, well, which is mine, you know? So I think I have a couple different, and I think that we can fluctuate between one and another. So it's not anything static, okay? So it's nothing to worry about. But it's just interesting to notice, what's my style? Now, in terms of the spiritual psychology, the comparison we can make with human psychology is that we certainly come from spirit, we believe that, come from spirit into form, and so there is a separation, right? There's a physical separation, and the difference is that we don't see God. We don't see God. Like we see our early caregivers, but we don't see God. So then the challenge is how to maintain that connection with God in the face of our human experience. And what is always, always true for us is that our breath is always the connection. And the breath is always what is coming in and providing for us. And because it's subtle, we don't necessarily pay attention to it. We are caught up in the outside world, our five senses, we're caught up with what we're seeing, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what we're tasting, what we're touching, what we're hearing. So the five senses are necessary because we're here in this realm and we need to function in this realm, but they can take us away from the more subtle awareness of the breath and the life force energy that's coming into us. So it's a practice to come back to remembering the breath. And if you ever want to know if you're disconnected from God, just notice your breath and notice how constricted it might be. And then you can make the intention to consciously release and allow more breath. So, I invite you to think about ways that you can connect, like as Lori was talking about. How do you connect to God? Anybody have any thoughts they'd like to share?
Meditation. Staying in the present.
Meditation, staying in the present.
Nature, connecting with nature.
Nature, connecting with nature.
Prayer.
Prayer, praying.
Journaling.
Journaling. So there is these different avenues of connection that we have available to us. And it's incumbent on us to pay attention and to be mindful of which ones we use and which ones we might want to cultivate. Because there's always opportunity to cultivate more awareness and connection with God. Now the difference, there are many differences between your mother and God and coming into life in the form with a person. But the difference that is so profoundly important to remember is that your mother was the source of you arriving here. God is always the source of you being here. So remember, God is always the source. And when you remember that, how do you feel? I know I feel relaxed.
Right.
I feel joy. I feel peace. I feel at home. So it's important also to pay attention to the ways that you feel emotionally when you're connected to God. and to really sink into and savor those experiences. So there's also an idea that we're talking about lately at the Centers for Spiritual Living, which is called your spiritual quotient. Now, everybody knows about IQ, right? IQ is really important to know, talk about it, to know what is your intelligence, what is your cognitive ability. Then there's EQ, your emotional quotient. What is your emotional ability? How do you manage your emotions? How emotionally mature are you? How emotionally aware and responsive are you? The spiritual quotient has to do with our spiritual acumen. And by acumen, we mean the ability to make good judgments and decisions. And when we come from that place of being spiritually aligned, the judgments and the decisions that we make are inspired by God and not just our smaller mind. We are less emotionally reactive, and we come back to the calm. We come back, and when we come back to the calm, we automatically allow more breath. We automatically allow more of the God supply. So I invite you now to do this little practice with me. A little bit of reflection. First of all, notice that you're looking. Your eyes are open. And you may be looking at me because I'm talking, okay? So as you're looking, I invite you to begin to relax and soften your eyes. Still with your eyes open. And notice how that feels. Now relax your facial muscles. Relax your jaw. And now exhale fully. Allow the release and allow the relief. You have just softened your attention without tension. Now I invite you to close your eyes. And listen to this reading from Can We Talk to God by Ernest Holmes. Consider the spirit as a warm, pulsating, reciprocal thing. It presses against us. It flows through us. It is our intelligence. It is a great universal urge and surge. I have often felt that the spirit must be pure belief, pure imagination, pure feeling, perfect volition, and complete knowingness, fused into a unity, an infinite personalness, as personal to you and to me as we are to each other. And now bring those words into the divinity of your heart. And if you feel moved to place your hand on your heart, feel free to do so. What you need to know is always right here. This is the realm of deep listening. I invite you to listen deeply and ask what you would like to know. If there there is no question yet, that's okay. Just know that any question can be answered in this place. So now take a breath, deep breath in and out. Another breath in and out. And now find yourself in that place of allowing the answer. And even if no answer comes, know that it's on its way. And now silently to yourself, within the heart space of your divinity, express your gratitude for the knowing. And now I invite you to repeat after me. I hear God's still small voice, expressing its love through me. I hear God's still small voice, expressing its love through me. I hear God's still small voice, expressing its love through me. Now I invite you to bring your attention back to the room. Feel yourself seated in the chair, grounded and centered right where you are, knowing that you have been heard and you are hearing what you need to know. And now notice how you feel. And just sit with it and just allow that awareness to be fully the awareness of the truth of your being. And so take a deep breath. Let's take a deep breath and clear the experience. And prepare with me as we invite our beloved Gail Jones up for her reflections on GPS and the closing treatment.
Well, in case you haven't noticed, we're doing acronyms today. And mine is GPS, our inner guidance system. And so I'm not going to ask you to do an exercise now, but take this into your week, into your days, as just a touchstone for staying connected, as Gail said. So we're going to recognize all the gifts that Spirit leads us with good orderly direction. The G in our inner guidance is God is great, God is grace, goodness, givingness, and guidance. The P is for power, presence, purpose, and prosperity. And S is for the Spirit Supreme, our source and supply. And so with that in mind, I invite you to align with your inner guidance, with your GPS, for this closing prayer treatment. And so I recognize God as our very breath, God as my life, God as all there is. God is the very breath of life, divine love, grace, goodness, and all that we are meant to be. And as I know this for myself, I know this for each and every one within the sound of my voice. And we take this remembrance with us, knowing that we are divinely guided at all times. We are under the grace of God. It is such a blessing that we are grateful for every moment. We live in complete gratitude, faith, and conviction, knowing that the truth of who we are is God and all its goodness and grace and all of its qualities, that we express who God is in us, as us, and through us. And so I release this word to the law that is activated by the divine mind, and so it is.